Welcome back to Grace Over Grind with Charis Jones. This is the podcast where we turn chaos into clarity. And dear, we have such a topic for you today. It's hot off the presses. It is of the moment. It is very much now. Okay? This is, we're just living in Beyonce's world. Do you understand? We're just all living in Beyonce's world, and we are just trying to glean and learn and get tickets. That is it. So today's topic is actually very near and dear to my heart. But whether you are a fan or not, it is not important. That is not the topic. What is incredibly important is that you learn what you can take away from today's topic, which is the Beyoncé Blueprint. 5 power moves that every woman should learn. Ha! I'm so excited. From her Parkwood Entertainment moves to surprise album and visual drops to no visuals at all. All of these power moves we're going to break down sort of like in a case study way as to how we can actually glean and learn from what Beyoncé has done. Let's get into it. Mindset shift number 1. Being the architect of your own legacy. So let's take it back to where Beyoncé was actually being managed by her father in the early days. Can you imagine how difficult of a decision it was to say, hey, I'm going to start managing myself, and hey, I'm going to build out Parkwood Entertainment? That had to take some fortitude. I'm sure she was talked out of it, but there was such evidence that she was willing to bet on her own inner voice and willing to prioritize her own knowing, whether it made sense or not. I want you to think about the essence of familiarity and how that actually tends to hold us back because things are comfortable and we know them, and we would rather deal with the crazy that we know rather than the crazy that we don't know, right? And in Beyonce's career, she has always gone against the grain. So the question here is, how in your life can you be the architect of your own legacy? Does that look like coming out of a place of worry and into a place of empowerment where you are the author of your today and your tomorrow? Does that look like a place of actually respecting your own boundaries and doing the things that you said that you would do for yourself, right? We tend to set a lot of goals at the beginning of the year and all throughout the year. And this is your opportunity to be an architect, right? But now we're mid-year, right around now the season. I want you to look back on the things that you intended for yourself this year and see if you actually wrote that story out. What does that biography, what does that novel, what does that literature actually look like for you? Right? Are you walking out? Are you architecting the things that you said that you would do for yourself? And that self-introspection is all it takes to be the own architect of your legacy. Girl, it's just that simple. So really it is coming into a mindset of not being here short term. It's legacy, empire, long-term building mindset. So those goals and all of those dreams that we have for ourselves, staying true to them, regardless of what anybody has to say. I know they called Beyonce crazy, and you know they talked about her because you did and so did I, right? But it made no difference as to how she wrote her own legacy. So that is the very first foundational mindset shift before we get into the rest of them that we must adapt and be okay with, because honey, that is the foundation. Mindset shift number 2, obsessive. And when I say obsessive excellence, it's admirable, yet also questionable and admirable. But we're here to siphon out all of the positive mindsets about it. And listen, Any one of us can say Beyonce is a workaholic, and she is, and as she deserves to be, but she is doing exactly what she loves to do, and she is living and operating in her full-bodied purpose. So, by successful people's definition, that is not work. Girl. All right, so let's think back to Coachella. At Coachella, she had just delivered the twins. And in her documentary, she clearly stated that she would never do this again. I am a twin mom. I understand what it does to your body, your hips, your bones, just pregnancy alone, let alone having two babies in your body. Delivering them and going into something as physically and as mentally demanding so early in your motherhood. And so the lesson here is not to be the best in the whole world. By default, she ended up being the best, but it's really about being your best. And at Coachella, she just wanted to test the limits of her body. She wanted to, call it crazy or not, but successful people have always gone off the rails, gone against the grain, and really pushed the pedal all the way down to maximize the limits of their potential, because there is a delusional curiosity about what can I do? How far can I actually go? What are the limitations of these things? And the more you learn that about yourself and your life and your capabilities, the more intelligence you gain about what you can do, about where your limits actually reside. Are there limits? And I can tell you some of it just being slightly successful comparative to Beyonce, but very successful in my own right. There are no limits. They're only ones that you put on yourself. So the takeaway is Beyonce rehearses like her life depends on it. Your rhetorical questioning for yourself is, how are you rehearsing like your life depends on it? Are we just showing up willy-nilly? Or are we incredibly intentional about walking it out and being prepared and researching and being well-spoken and showing up well energetically, physically, spiritually? How much are you watering yourself? How much are you rehearsing so that when that next level that you have prayed for, when it presents itself, how well can you stay and how well can you be? Those things are incredibly dependent on how well you're rehearsing. Mindset shift number 3 is to control your narrative. Yeah. Beyonce is incredibly powerful and incredibly private. You are not seeing interviews. And I remember there was a point in time where you were seeing interviews left and right. But there came a point where she just stopped and she puts out her own content. She focused on her gift. Telling her story is showing up through her work. So she doesn't actually need to do press. She doesn't need to do all of the interviews or magazine interviews. So we actually count it as bliss and joy and delight when we do get a sneak peek, when we actually do get to see Rumi on stage and we do get to see Blue, because then it's more of a je ne sais quoi, right? There's that mystery around what actually goes on in her life. And I'm going to tell you, when she actually does decide to put work of arts out, she's producing it. She is actually the producer, the director. She's incredibly involved. She's telling everyone where the lights go, and you can call that obsessive control, and it is. But what can we learn from that? She's not leaving any detail up for chance, any detail up for misunderstood interpretation. It is all deliberately intentional. So the mindset shift for you is to be fully and deliberately intentional on what you share and what you show. The rhetorical questioning here is, how can I show up in a way that is advantageous of value for who it is that I am here to serve, right? And so if we're just giving, when you do bring your best, it's not even noticed because your factory default setting is to give. But what if you only spoke when there was something to say and you went into a place where you're doing more with less. So the lesson here is that you don't owe access to everyone in your day-to-day life. That looks like, do I have space and do I have energy available to reply to this text message, to reply to this email, to give my yes, to give my all, to give my physicality, to give my relationship, my advice? All of those things are teeny tiny micro ways that we can show up with more intention without burning out. Because Beyoncé will show up and show out and then go back in hiding. This is her cycle. Show up, show out, and then go back in hiding. But for whatever reason, some of us have mindsets where it's show out, show out, show out, show out, show out, show out, show out. And there is absolutely no hiding, no recuperation, no recovery, no preservation. And those things are they are so important in controlling your narrative. Because here's the other thing. How do you even know what the narrative is? If we've not taken time to actually define that and write that out for ourselves and decide what it is and where it is that we are going, we just out here willy-nilly. We just out here flying by the seat of our pants. Beyoncé has perfected controlling her narrative. You see what she only wants you to see. And by her giving us the 1% or 2% of her life, we think it's 100%. We think we know her. We do. We done seen Rumi, honey. We know Rumi's favorite food. We know everything, right? But really, that is 10 minutes out of Rumi's 24-hour day. Right? Beyoncé doing concert when we get to see her 2 hours, 3 hours. My date is coming up in Atlanta. Right? But on solid, 2 strong hours. And she gives us so much and we think we know everything. But in the grand scheme of time, we do not. But she has curated and controlled her narrative so well that when she does deliver, it's so full-bodied and vibrant and verbose and deep that we feel so connected and we feel so known. So the question for our own life is, how can we show up in a way where we're doing minimal effort, but there is maximum impact and maximum return? Mindset shift number 4 that we can all learn from Beyoncé. Reinvention is your superpower. From Destiny's Child to Renaissance, from body changes to image changes to genre changes. She does it without apology. And often, actually, always, let me correct that, without permission. Here's the goal in life. The goal in life actually is to be side-eyed rather than predictable. Everyone around you in your field and what you do, because as an expert, we do it incredibly well, right? But the goal is to get out of a place of prediction, but into a place of superpower. So much so that there is an audacity from everyone around you that is like, who the heck does she think she is? Right? You're going to get that question, but also through that level of audacity, there is such immense inspiration. You are inspiring everyone in your universe that they can do the same, that they are able to step out without permission. And oftentimes it's our own permission that we seek and need the most. But sometimes you got to do the thing without your own permission. Sometimes you got to do the thing without having it all figured out. And I am quite sure that when Beyoncé decided to go into and to step deeper into her country roots, she didn't have it all figured out up front. She agreed on one thing, that I will continually and perpetually reinvent myself as often as required, as often as necessary. Stagnation occurs when you think you have all the answers. Stagnation occurs when you think you know exactly what you're doing. But the superpower in the mindset shift is to remain uncomfortable and constantly lean into new, uncharted territory. I'm quite sure she didn't have all the features and all of these things figured out, but she agreed to figure it out along the way. she agreed to continually reinvent. Even from show to show on this Cowboy Carter tour that she's on right now, every single show is somewhat different. From the hair to the wardrobe to the set list, all of it is overall unpredictable. Do you think every single inkling of that was pre-planned? Most of it, yeah. But also, there's a lot of room for spontaneity. There's a lot of room for innuendos. There's a lot of room left for learning. So, having it all figured out is the enemy of you reinventing yourself, right? Because we don't give ourselves the ability and the space to fuck around and find out. Clearly put, right? So growth is not, it's not betrayal. It is essentially the agreement of you moving forward from everything that you have known and moving into a space of the unknown. And yes, it is scary. Been there 1,000 times, there today. Right? But that is the place of growth. And that is also the place where we get to develop a new skill. Personal story, I have agreed to do a thing. And this particular thing I have struggled with for the last 4 years. Yeah, it has a stronghold on me, something serious. However, it's not the agreement, but it's also in your decision making. There's a difference in doing versus deciding. And when you have decided that I am going to move forward regardless of what happens, regardless, I am committed to growth. I am committed to wild, unfamiliar, crazy, side-eye-ish growth. And that might not all and should not all be outward. Most of it is inward. And that is how you upgrade from the inside. And that is how you continually give yourself the permission and the access to reinvent yourself. And that's exactly what Beyoncé has done. We have seen all kinds of different hairstyles. We have seen all kinds of different art forms. We have even seen her reinvent her voice and her bravado and her sound. How beautiful is that? She didn't need any of our permission to do that. We accept it as art, and we have learned in some way, shape, or form, honey, to be inspired by that and to take whatever it is that we can take out of her life, which is a servant lifestyle, and figure out how we can use that for ourselves. So, reinvention, it is your superpower. Mindset shift number 5 that we can learn from Beyoncé is your quiet confidence over and it being greater than loud applause. Ah! Honey, you may struggle with this, and the reason that you might struggle with this, it stems from childhood. Let me just affirm that. But it comes from a place of sometimes not feeling enough. And also, even if you do feel enough, you need validation and you need confirmation that you are headed in the right direction. So one of the ways that we receive that as humans is by being performative and then in return receiving an applause. Just think of performing. Right? If you're a singer, a dancer, or whatever it is, you are looking for that round of applause at the end. And us as humans have been conditioned to expect and need that round of applause in order to have confirmation that we're moving in the right direction or that we have done a good job. So the work here that Beyoncé has perfected. The takeaway for your mindset is to be your own round of applause, that quiet confidence that doesn't need anything from anyone, that is overall detached from outcome and overall detached from applause and external validation in order for you to feel whole, in order for you to know that you've done a good job, and in order for you to agree to continue to move forward in your own life and with your own dreams, your own destiny, and your own goals. Here's the other thing too. Beyoncé rarely claps back. Responding is also a form of needing applause. Girl, let me break this down for you. Quiet confidence looks like they can have it. It looks like let them. It looks like they can think what they want to think. I am solid on my plan. I am agreeing to move forward and I know exactly what I am doing. Even if I don't, I know my next step, or I think I have an idea of what I want my next step to be. When you get negative feedback, or when you get someone speaking against what it is that you're doing or who it is that you are or something that you've done, right? We feel the innate need to defend. But quiet confidence is actually not caring and letting them say whatever they want to say. They can have the story. It belongs to them. There's nothing that you can do to change it. So why invest any energy, any mind space, any thought into altering what that narrative is? Our takeaway number one was being the author of your own narrative, right? So if we're the author of our own narrative, then why do we need to control anyone else's? Put it down. Let them have it. You have yours. Everyone's right. Whatever you believe, you're right. Whatever you believe, you're right. And let that be. Be so incredibly hyper focused on your own voice that you don't feel the need to over explain your worth. That you don't feel the need to even not even over explain, but just to explain. That you don't feel the need to fill in every single blank space. God created all these humans on earth. Everyone has their own space to fill. The more that we understand that we are not in control, the more we focus on ourselves, the brighter we glow, the brighter we grow, and the farther you can go. And that's what quiet confidence is all about. It's about knowing yourself and being so super solid on your own internal worth that it has absolutely nothing to do with external validation or requiring any kind of applause. So listen, whether you're a fan, whether you're not, again, not the topic, there are tons of mindset shifts that Beyoncé has made that we can learn from and that you can apply very easily into your everyday life. So, honey, let's hold hands. Let's jump out into this beautiful world and keep forging forward together. Text a friend, text a sister, text a cousin this video and inspire them to continue to move forward regardless, just like Beyoncé did. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. Whether you're listening anywhere podcasts are heard, or whether you're watching right here on YouTube for the visuals, I want you to tell me what your biggest takeaway was and which of the 5 mindsets you're going to start implementing today. Be sure to subscribe, comment below, let me know, and turn on your notifications so that you get all the tea. Until next time, remember, you are the main character. Beyoncé just reminded you.